Welcome everyone, and welcome as we go live here on YouTube and all the social network channels. I just the podcast channel just go, so bear with me just a little bit. Um, Welcome to Bridges Live. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer. Welcome to Bridges Live Presents. Dr. Paul Talks with King Melvin. And it's a pleasure to always visit with another brother, another life force that is teaching about living in the force. I'm not going to introduce him because I tell people who always watch my shows, I sound like a baseball announcer when I introduce people, and people have their own way of introducing themselves. But first, I want to thank everyone for sponsoring and helping with the show. And you can always reach me anytime you want to Dr. Paul Dyer at gmail.com. You can always put in your likes and social networks about your questions and comments, and we'll get back to you. King Melvin, please and thank you and blessings, my brother, for visiting with me on Bridges Live on Mental Health Mondays to be all of that. So please introduce yourself, Mr. King Melvin.
Blessings, humbly thank you for being able to have this wonderful platform to help enlighten the world. And I'm King Melvin. My background is basically ex-foster kid, runaway, been conditioned like everyone else coming into the world with beings that's a little out of tune. I have a philosophy that on the path of enlightenment, I develop a philosophy called mind tuning. And so just coming in the world from the universe, heaven, or whatever you want to call it, as spirit, and take on these earth bodies, and was finding my way exploring life on planet Earth, as we all do. And I was grateful to come this time around and explore life on planet Earth and discover my likes and dislikes, and found out that I had to learn I wasn't happy with the teachings that I got from some beings that was a little out of tune. So I didn't like, my conditioning. So my inner self, inner being, taught me how to deprogram to reprogram, and also taught me that I had the power to be, do, and have anything I want, as long as I master universal principles and learn how to let the inner being guide me to all truths. So that's that's basically that's my mission, to be able to let people know that I love magic. So I always say this. They say, well, King Melvin, what is mind tuning really all about? And I said, what a wonderful question. I said, if I found a magic genie lamp in your attic, right. And I told you it was yours.
Right.
And if you mastered it, it will be able to, you will be able to have, that genie will be able to give you unlimited wishes. I mean, unlimited wishes.
Right.
And it was yours, but you had to master the manual on how to rub it and how to get the genie to be at your command. I said, what would that mean? What kind of value would that be to you? And I always get the answers like, wow.
Right.
That's priceless.
Right. It would be priceless.
I said, I know you don't have priceless in your pocket. I know you don't have priceless in your pocket. But, I always try to meet people where they are, and they always say, when I get a little interviews, they say, well, what is mind tuning about? Could you just wrap it up in a nutshell? And I said, yeah, simple. Mind tuning philosophy is very simple. If your mind is out of tune, your life going to be out of tune.
So King
You get your mind in tune and your life will be in tune.
and I think with many people, as I talk about on Mental Health Mondays, about all the things that people are bringing on to themselves and not knowing how to extract or knowing how to dissolve and all these different things I have talked about, and you're hitting it right on the head. So here's the question that still keeps getting questioned. Coming from a place that is constructed, that you did not construct yourself, how did you realize when, how did you recognize that you were constructed before you had to deconstruct? And I think that's where the biggest things people are stuck at. They don't realize how conditioned they have been. And so how would, it's more or less, could you help explain that to people, what they can recognize about their conditioning?
That's a great question, Doctor. Well, basically, I knew that when I came into the world, all of the people around me, they were bigger than me, and they looked like they were more knowledgeable than me, and they sound like they knew what they were talking about. And I, being a little child, I believed them, and they helped me identify who I'm supposed to be and who they thought I should be, and I found out that that wasn't working. I wasn't happy with that. With inside, I said, wait a minute, I'm having conflict here. I'm like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. And I had the tug of war that most everyone has, and I had to find out that through different paths, searching through different religions and different studies, I was on the path of knowledge. I was very dissatisfied on who I was being and how that felt. So they say dissatisfaction always brings about a change. I was dissatisfied. So I went on a journey to discover that self, that was the ego self, or the untuned self, I like to call, didn't feel right. So I had to find out that, wait a minute, I don't have the true knowledge of self. I thought I had the true knowledge of self, but it's not the true knowledge of self. And I had to find out the true knowledge of self wasn't my ego, it wasn't that person that society and education said I was.
Now, here's the kicker. You said something about I was unhappy. I was not satisfied. And then I asked the question. You actually oppose the question to self. I know that's where I find people are stuck at. They don't even know that they can question themselves.
Very true.
And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you not be able to? I mean, if I can question you and I'm external, what? Who told you you could not question yourself? And that's where they go, I don't know. And I said, that is the juggernaut. That's where your secret is, behind your self questioning of self discovery. Because I can't discover you, even as a client, I can't discover you without you. You know what I mean? I can't find the magic of you without you leading the way. I couldn't do it.
Good stuff. Oh my God, good stuff. Good stuff. It's impossible. It's like I can't chew your food and digest it for you.
Right.
So you're right. I know I was lost. I always got to go back to me. I can't really reference to nothing else. I've been with me for 69 young years. I might not know anything about anything else, but I know a little bit of something about me.
Yeah.
So once I understood that, wait a minute, you mean to tell me in Genesis it said, let us make man in our image and likeness. what does that really mean? I'm like, are you serious? I had started asking my inner self, are you serious?
Yep.
I said, yes, you have the power. I'm not saying you have the power to create the sun, moon, and stars. We already did that for you. We already did. But you do have the power to create your own reality. I said, wait a minute, let me see if I got this right. Because I have a PhD, public high school diploma, So I said, so I ain't got one of them real ones like you got, Doc, but I humbly, I said, now source, inner being, you got to be a little gentle with me. You got to be, now Doc might get this, like nanoseconds. I said, you got to be a little gentle with me, inner self. So I said, are you telling me that I have the power to reinvent myself and recreate myself?
Wow.
Said, yes, you do.
Yes, you
I said, wow. And I started on that journey. I was getting rid of deprogramming, getting rid of bad habits and limited beliefs that was blocking my greatness. Oh, I started dropping those bad habits like taxes, man. I was dropping them.
See, that's and I want to talk to it. I'm not going to talk about the pandemic. What I want to talk to recently in my vision universe, many people have committed suicide, talked about committing suicide, or has been swimming in that shallow water of what am I doing here? Why do I feel alone and lost? From that point, I don't call those are great questions to begin with, but they're sinking rock questions too, because it's negative, if that makes sense. Like, why am I here? It's a negative question. I understand people ask that question, but to me, it's almost like a sinking rock feeling in that question. My question for you is, what's a different way of asking that question so they can start that process instead of what am I doing here?
Wow. Well, that's a DP too, Doc. I'm not even expecting you not to give no like stuff. Now you going in, Doc. You're going in.
We gotta go swimming. We gotta go. We gotta get wet.
Yeah. Yes. Because that is. I always say when a person is lost, you can't. I that's kind of like contrast.
Yeah.
Yes, and most people have a distorted point of view of contrast. If you lost or feeling lost, we need to understand you can't value the light without the so-called darkness. Come on, somebody. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I was lost. I was a foster kid. I was abused. I felt lost. I didn't know why life dealt the hand that it dealt me.
Right.
So I went through that journey too, and I'm so glad. Listen to me. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad I went through that journey, because when you understand that you going through that so-called dark journey, it's a blessing. Mm. I didn't see it when I was in the eye of the storm that it was a blessing, but now I said, I see why I felt lost. I feel like why I wanted to end it off. I saw why I went to drugs and all. I saw all that. I said, I'm glad I went through all that because it made me the person that I am. So I'm saying, don't beat yourself up about, you know, because before we took on these physical bodies,
right,
we went to sleep.
Yeah.
We went to sleep.
Yeah.
And we forgot a lot of things that we planned in heaven. Now, newsflash. I always talk about this because there's a lot of unawareness of what happened before we took on these bodies.
Yes.
When we was in heaven, or whatever you want to call it, believe it or not, we planned our steps. We was in the drawing board of heaven. We chose our parents. We chose our circumstances. And we did not say we want to come to planet Earth and have our nest feathered. We didn't say that because we was already in a place where everything was feathered.
Right. Already.
And I always joke about this. We woke up one day and said, you know, Heavenly Father, it's nice with the milk and honey, you know, and the harps playing, you know, and all of that. But Dad, I got to go back down there and shake it up some. I got to go down and get some of that contrast, because contrast makes you more, makes you wiser, make you stronger. We already know gold can't be valued unless it go through the fire. So please embrace your lostness. Embrace your I don't know-ness.
Because you're
dissatisfaction brings about a change.
What you're saying is that how can you choose life if you've never known the living? If you don't, how can you choose life if you don't know that you're living? Wow.
Yes.
Even the book of Amara says, the book of the dead says, this is the words of life. And they call it the book of the dead. Wow. You have a
sermon, curse not the darkness.
Yes.
Curse not the darkness. The so-called darkness.
The darkness you were taught. The darkness you were taught. The darkness that was constructed to keep you blindfolded. In your mind tuning, you break apart that, and I love the terminology mind tuning, because I talk about frequencies all the time and how the body generates frequency on the cellular level. I talk about all the time how the vibrations work. But when you talk about mind tuning, you know, for me being a neuroscience, you're talking about connection, genetic, epidemiology connection from history, from the past, way past, from the furthest way to the furthest future. Tapping into that. You are tapping into that, and you're teaching people how to do that.
Yes. That's my mission. When I was clear, when I deprogrammed and got into and started reprogramming, got into the true knowledge of self, not just knowledge of my birth certificate and what our environments in our ego. I'm not talking about that. When I got into who we really are and what happened before we went to sleep, this is the facts. You don't have to believe it, because gravity don't care if you don't believe it or not. You jump off that Empire State Building,
you're going down.
You're going down.
You're going down.
You may not believe it now, but that's just what it is. So these are the facts. We was in heaven's non-physical spirit. And we went to the drawing board. And we planned our life to every intricate detail. And the agreement was spirit, all-knowing spiritual self, hold the light on for me, because part of me, the physical part, gonna go to sleep. And I'm gonna discover life on planet Earth, the good, the so-called bad, and then we're gonna meet up in the middle. And we're gonna become one. And what we supposed to be doing, we supposed to meet up with our spiritual and our physical and be able to create our world exactly the way we want to create it. And I mean, we create our own reality. I don't care what that distortion stuff says. Anytime you do the blame game,
you distort
and you don't take full responsibility, you're out of tune.
You
now,
distort it. Yeah.
I'm not now. I get a lot of flack when people say, no, if that can't be true, because why would I bring so much hell in my life? Right. I said, I didn't say you did it on purpose,
right?
But you did do it with an untuned mind.
Yeah.
I
agree with you. I'm going to wear the jersey of King Melvin, because everyone listen to me now. Listen to King Melvin. He didn't say you did it on purpose. We're just saying it's out of tune, out of whack, out of consciousness, out of truth. That's all we're saying. We're not saying that you're crazy, you don't belong here, and you're bad and negative, negative, negative. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying it's out of tune. And I had said this once before. I said, if you raise your voice at anything or anybody in anger, I'm not talking about the cheering voice, I'm talking about the anger voice, that means you are out of whack. You are unbalanced. Just raise your hand and say, I got to get this fixed. And I put it to someone like in a car. I said, if your car, and I'm not a mechanic, and I don't know nothing about cars, but if my car sounded what you call rough and it is blowing smoke, I would say, I have to get this checked out. To me, that's what anger is. It's you blowing black smoke and a big bang went off in your engine. You may not know what it is, but it has to be checked out. And I know with Black History Month, well, doesn't matter. With Black history and Black men specifically who are killing themselves so quickly, so rapidly, we're not asking for help, but we're blowing a lot of smoke and we're clanking. It's not why do we do that? How can we help each other get out of that?
Wow. That's that's where the road meets the rubber. What we're doing, Doc, there's going to be people that listen to the show going to be on the right vibration. And they're going to hear us. And there's going to be those that's not ready yet. It's okay too. All we can do, Doc, is keep putting these mind tuning philosophies out there. And those that are ready for it, they're going to gravitate toward it, and they will be able to put more of this in the world, because we can't help what other people are doing. All we can do is we have responsibility for ourselves. And I'm seeing right now, because I'm on a radio show, and most people lines. And I always let them know there's more good in the world than not.
Yeah, I agree.
And I've got to say, I said, I don't have no complaints. When you become mind tuned and conscious, you do not have any complaints about anything, because you know you create your own reality. And once you know you create your own reality, and no one, there's universal laws. There's always attraction, never assertion. I don't care what you've been told. It's falsehood. Nobody can put their will into your space.
No.
You have to first invite it, invite them unconsciously, unwillingly, but you always do the inviting. So I'm saying, when you understand that, you need to understand it's always you.
Just like when people have unspiritual sex, they're inviting all these demons from transformation between one place to another, and that sickness brews in both. And that's something people don't understand either. And when I mean by spiritual, I don't mean it has to be Christian and whatever religion you want to put on it. I'm talking about a clean spirit. If you have it with a person that is unclean, untuned, that negative creates sickness in both bodies. And that's something people don't understand.
I came to the truth of, when you are strongly mind tuned, no matter what's going on around you, and my dear leader and teaching guy said it best. You can be in the world, but you don't have to be of the world. So if you hold your mind tuning straight, remember this. No one can insert anything, but you got to be practiced at it, because like doctors, if you're not practiced at it, you're weak. You're so weak that your veil could be pierced. When I first started on this journey, I stayed away until I got stronger. I stayed away from everything that was gonna pierce my veil. Now I could be in the world, like Christ said, but don't be of the world. I could be around drugs. I could be around all of the fires that used to consume me. And people say, how are you not being consumed? I have found the way, because that's who we are. We all can be powerful. I'm nothing special. The last time I checked, I had 2 hands, 2 feet. There's nothing special about me. But we all have the same. It's an even playing field. As Doctor have developed himself, if I have to develop myself, it's all possible.
What are some of those fires? Give me 3 fires. You mentioned drugs, you mentioned alcohol, you mentioned those things. What's some other fires that people normally don't call a fire, but yet they're getting burned by it?
Well, things that you consume eating, you know, your holy temple is a holy temple. I teach a class called The Fountain of Youth. Teaching, if you don't know the biological laws and the dietary laws, that's a fire. And also, talking about people.
Wow.
Envious and jealousy. You know, the source. You're going to hear me go back and forth between the language of source and God, because sometimes if I'm speaking to Christians, I'll use the word God. Right. But if I'm speaking to regular folk, I'll use the word source, because the word God has been so distorted. I'm trying to let everybody understand it's not the disconnecting philosophy that we was taught about. Right. God is within you. Right. He is you and you and him. So this is why I always, the name of the church God told me he want me to bring into existence is the pathway to God and Christ in you. That's what God said. I want you to set up this nonprofit organization and teach this, because you are hitting on some very good, powerful fires. I mean, just when you understand the oneness of each other, I am you, Doctor, and you are me. Right. So I am not going to talk about you, because if you were conscious and you at that third consciousness, and you saw a part of myself in the mirror cussing my reflection out. Right. The third party would be looking and say, that fool is crazy. That's right. When you talk to another brother or sister and you see them separate than you out of tune. I am you and you are me.
I'm so excited. And on people, listen, I'm a science guy. I'm a practicing Buddhist, but I'm a science guy. So what King Melvin's talking about scientifically is called mirror neurons. The mirror neurons has no idea who, what, where you're talking in reference to. It has no connection to the eyes, to the nose, to the ears. It has connection to vibration. So the mirror neurons, whenever you speak in negative tongue,
come on now, you're right there.
Those mirror neurons respond and kick chemicals through your body through genetic connection. It doesn't go to, I'm speaking about the other. It doesn't leave your body and go and attach to them. Whatever negative, whatever, you could be talking about the smog or a car or a dirty window. It has nothing to do with that external noise you are creating called your personal reality. It only responds to the chemical that's in your internal self, and therein lies the negative response. That's genetics. That is cellular biology. Has nothing to do with, but she spit on me. He cursed at me. It has no connection to that. So now what are you going to do? And that's what King Melvin was talking about on a science level. So that's what, thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, because you breaking it down, you cracking atoms over there, and see, so I'm getting blessed by hearing it from the scientist's point of view, and it's really wonderful because this science we're talking about it's not personal. It's not personal.
Nope.
And like Confucius said, it cracked me up. He said, that's like drinking the poison and expecting your enemy to die.
Right.
Oh, I fell out on it. I'm still laughing at that one.
No,
it's not. It's going to affect you.
Yeah.
Give you another example. You mad at somebody else, and 15, 20 years you carrying that around, and you see them the next day, say, "Oh, you still carrying that around?
Yeah, you still got that?
you still hold on to that? And you the one that got the cancer."
Yeah. King Melvin, with the classes you teach, let's get this out of the way. How can people get a hold of you? Where can they reach you? I know I put it in the chat and in your email and your phone number, but for the podcast, how can people get a hold of you? For not the visual podcast, but the voice stuff.
Well, basically, all they have to do is dial 347-346-3047. Let me say that number again and slower. 347-346-3047. And my email is King Melvin, one word, 1952 @gmail.com. That email again is King Melvin, 1952 @gmail.com.
I haven't said this often enough in the shows I've done with people who I just fall in love with and connect with. When a person hears programs and things to do, the first thing that pops into their earthly mind is price. And every time I hear the word price, I hear persecution. And I'll explain what I mean. When people ask, well, how much does it cost? I said, why are you trying to kill yourself? Well, what do you mean, Dr. Paul? I said, you're asking about a price that you put on your life, that you must enslave yourself, and now you're trying to sell it to me. I am not your master. I am trying to free you, and you're asking about enslavement. That's when people talk about price, that is exactly what they're doing. They're enslaving themselves to something they either can do or won't do. Yes, we live on this plane. Yes, there's light bills to be paid. Yes, there's a bus ticket to buy. I get all that. But when you ask about that, you're pricing yourself like you're selling yourself on a slave block. Don't do that to yourself, people. Get the work done. Get a teacher. Get it done. You cannot do this by yourself. This is not a self-help book. I wouldn't fix a car with a self-help book, and I don't care how much I know I can read. So why would you do this with yourself by reading a damn book? It confuses me to all the get-outs. And I read a lot, and I learn a lot. But to help yourself in discovery, you cannot read a book and do it. So it's nice knowledge, but it's not information. And that information doesn't translate to wisdom because you're going to misunderstand the information. And misinformation is more harmful than not doing it. Because you create a sickness that you cannot correct. You create a poison that you know nothing. You create a potion that you're going to drink that you don't know how to heal.
Amen. Well said. Well said, Doc. I have to concur with that because when people always ask me, well, how much is it? Said how much is your life and your to be able to do and have anything you want, peace, love, and joy. I said I live on the same planet with some of my students. They said, Coach, how could you be on a planet like this and always in love, joy, and peace? How was that possible? I said, practice, meditation, and constantly having a teacher
yes,
that can see further than you can see.
That's all. And
always give you pure guidance because you can't fight the blind spots. No. You just can't fight the blind spots. And I always didn't mind because it was so important for my life.
Right.
To be a foster kid, being an introvert and was so much full of fear of being able to express myself and couldn't express myself. It was like being buried alive and I'm scratching and nobody hear me. It was traumatic. And I said, I don't care what it takes. It took most of my fortune. I was a merchant marine and I made more money as a mechanical engineer in 6 months than people make in a whole year. And I stayed at sea for 7, 8 months at a time. So it took most of my fortune and came here and worked on myself. If a guru's, whatever he said, I paid it because I understood. This was priceless to fix myself. So I always let people understand it's a sliding scale, whatever
it is. Absolutely.
You can comfortably be able to do because you are serious about fixing your life. Trust me, it'll be possible.
Thank everyone.
And I always said, it always is out of integrity to want something of value for nothing. It's out of integrity. And when you let people to see their integrity, I wouldn't quabble. If that's what it took, I found it. And the universe always made it possible for me to find it.
King Melvin, it's been an honor. It's been everyone. Please, I know you're going to have questions, and you always do. You can email me, and I'll make sure King Melvin gets it. You can always reference me, and I'll make sure you get King Melvin's number. Whatever you need to do to reach out, to ask the questions, and listen to this over and over again. Right? Take the notes down, read, respond, and listen, practice, train, do. Everyone have a good blessing, good night, be kind, be compassionate, and go back to practicing and training. King Melvin, anything you want to say before we take off?
I just want to say it was a blessing and an honor to do this great work with you.
Thank you. King Melvin, stay on, please, while we let everybody go. Thank everyone and have a great night.